meeting in Paris to see if an agreement on global warming can at long last be reached, while in this country, it's an issue that has not been prominent in the current presidential campaign. Your take?
It hasn't been a focus, I think.
As an issue?
As an issue, yeah.
Right now, I think our focus is on ISIS and terrorism.
I don't think anybody will understand that it's prominent enough until the sea levels have risen.
The Earth has been warming and cooling for millions upon millions upon millions of years. This is one more cycle.
It'll be quite warm when they come over here and blow us up.
What is your level of confidence that something historic in terms of an agreement worldwide may happen from Paris?
Very low. If anything does get passed, I don't believe it's going to be binding.
Fortunately, I don't think there'll be anything definitive that comes out of it, but at least it's the beginning of a conversation.
Creating this problem.
Absolutely, they can do it.
You think you have confidence?
I do. I don't know why the world can't come together on this, but they seem not to.
How optimistic are you when bureaucrats get together to try to solve world problems?
Not so much.
See you later.
You know, and this isn't a political statement. It says you go from Newtown and you figure that's the end of it, and then, oh, okay, Paris, that'll be the end of it, and then you get San Bernardino, California. Where is the end? It's time for OTR Roundtable, and this week our analysts are Marianne Marsh on the Democratic side and Republican analyst Pat Griffin. Guys, great to have you with us as always.
Well, as Eddie so well put it, you know, climate change really took a backseat very quickly for most Americans when all these events happened over the last week or two. Is it possible that the NRA will lose its grip on Congress, Pat?
It's possible, and it's time, frankly. And again, I say this as somebody who's a pretty pro-Second Amendment person within reason. The problem is, let's not conflate San Bernardino yet with what could be either domestic terrorism or foreign terrorism. I think that the president has done that. I think Hillary Clinton has done that. It sounds to me more and more like this is not that. This sounds to me like it's probably a case of, you know, the kind of terror we've been dealing with from outside of the country in. But the bottom line is, we have to do something. People who believe in the Second Amendment need to step up and start to realize that this cannot continue, and if the NRA doesn't figure out a way to be more responsive to its members, it's going to lose clout in Congress, no question.
Is the gun lobby going to lose some of its strength as a result of all of this?
Well,
Marianne?
apparently not, and Patrick clearly needs to talk to like 54 Republican senators in the United States Senate. Hours after those people were slaughtered in San Bernardino, the U.S. Senate voted to allow terrorists who are on watch lists, who can't get on a plane, to continue to buy every kind of gun and as many as they want and as many bullets. They once again voted down expanding background checks. So if you're a Republican senator, and I'm talking to you, Kelly Ayotte, where 88% of New Hampshire voters want more gun control, she voted against both of them. So Republican senators are aiding and abetting terrorists. The very people who committed these crimes in San Bernardino bought as many. Apparently not, but it's going to cost all of them their seats.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. Look, the bottom line in this is that if you're going to...
They support terrorists.
I listen to you. Let me just get a word in.
Okay.
I think that there is some merit to what you say, believe it or not, in my mind. It is time to figure out a way, if you're going to be pro-Second Amendment, to find somehow to be reasonable. And I would concur with you, that that vote hours after what happened in San Bernardino is let me finish because I'm helping you. Okay? It was a very bad thing for Republicans to do. Very bad box office, and people in this country are going to start to say, hey, wait a minute. The problem is this. If gun control was as effective as you and the left seems to say, Chicago would be the safest city in this country. We've got to find gun restrictions that work, Marianne. And the problem is, taking guns from law-abiding citizens doesn't stop the bad guys from getting them.
Here's the thing. People who are mentally unstable can still buy guns. Terrorists who can't get on a plane with any of us can buy as many guns and ammunition as they want. Mark Kirk, who is in the fight of his life in Illinois against Tammy Duckworth, he's going to lose that seat. He's the only Republican who voted for these were the two easiest votes any senator could have taken.
We're going to take this discussion into the presidential race, and Hillary Clinton is making gun violence the centerpiece of her campaign. It's one of the issues that puts her even to the left of Bernie Sanders. Take a look.
If you are too dangerous to fly in America, you are too dangerous to buy a gun in America.
And that's to your point.
Yeah.
And Pat, is this the issue that her campaign thinks can win her the election?
Well, it puts her in a better place than Bernie Sanders. I think the problem for this is that if, in fact, as I just said, we could find a way to not tread on law-abiding citizens, and make sure that we were trying to do the responsive and responsible thing. This stuff can't go on. It's sickening. We would do it. The problem is, Ed, there are too many people who are law-abiding citizens who own guns who would be adversely affected by some kind of government ban. It doesn't work unless someone's got a way to show me a metric that says it works.
The majority of the NRA membership wants these controls done, yet the United States Senate votes against it. So what more do you need to do? Every horrific act we've discussed in the last few weeks and months have been done with guns, not bombs, guns. Every single one.
Well, you know what? I
guns,
think
Patrick,
at the
guns,
end of this, Marianne,
guns.
No, common sense, Marianne, common sense. I think you and I concur the Senate vote was bad box office for Republicans. I think we concur that there's got to be something done. I want to hear what it is that specifically we should do to really and truly curb violence.
Those were two right there. If you can't deny terrorists a gun, who can you deny?
If you can't deny a mentally the terrorists in San Bernardino guns, have you read the news?
Yes.
The bottom line is 2 of those guns were purchased legally.
No.
The other 2 guns, I mean, wait a minute.
Patrick, you're wrong. 4 of those guns were purchased legally.
That's
all
correct.
4, all right?
That's correct.
And yet the people he was talking to were on the terrorist list. Yet they bought all those guns and shot the bejesus out of the place like every place else.
So what works? What works for gun control?
That's it. Putting people on terrorist lists, don't buy guns. They were on a terrorist list. That's where they messed up, because that guy was talking to terrorists, number one. And crazy people every week buy guns and shoot up people. We should be able to stop both those things.
And by the way, one last thing on this. Also, people who are not crazy buy guns and are responsive and responsible citizens.
And they support these changes.
And I agree with you, which is why the NRA better look at its membership and do something about it, or it's going to lose its perspective in this thing.
I think there's more common ground than there is differences, but let's move on for now.
We
could carry on for a while. Chris Christie, he got the coveted Manchester Union leader endorsement this past week. He's still anywhere from 5th to 7th place up there in the Granite State polls. Is this going to help him at all, Pat?
Well, I think it helps him. I think Chris Christie's got a little momentum going. This is a guy who had to come back from the dead. He's working hard. He's got a very strong ground organization in New Hampshire. Someone is going to arise as the alternative to Trump. He could be one of them.
Pat, Marianne, is this going to help him at all?
Endorsements aren't what they used to be, including the union leader. It gets him a second look and a second chance, but it won't be enough to win New Hampshire.
You struck the chord I was curious about, Marianne. Thank you very much. We continue on the record. Stay with us.